Brittany Pierce, Your Honor.
Brittany Pierce. All right, so we're on the record in docket 24-02565. 24-02566. 24-02569 or 68. And 24-02569. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Brittany Pierce. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Mrs. L.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
Mr. Raleigh.
Jacob Riley on behalf of Miss Pierce.
And Miss Pierce is.
She might be on Zoom.
Well, I think she's probably on. Brittany's.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you are Brittany Pierce, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
All right, and you can hear me all right, Miss Pierce?
Yes.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a people state of Michigan pretrial. Mrs. L, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that we will be requesting this be set for a jury trial date.
Is that a fair statement, Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Miss Pierce, we're going to set this for jury trial on all 4 files. Set for jury trial on file 24-02569. Is set for
March 4th at 8 o'clock.
March 4th at 8 o'clock. And then we'll set 24-02568 for March 4th at 8 o'clock. We'll set 24-02566 for March 4th at 8 o'clock. And we'll set 24-02565 for March 4th at 8 o'clock. And we'd probably give the, I don't know, I'd leave that up to you, Mrs. L, but maybe the dog bite or the dog at large or the dog bite precedence.
Okay.
Over the other 3. It's right in line with each of the files, but the dog bite is more serious than the dog at large. So that's just for how we arrange that for March 4th. Anything else for the record on any one of those files, Ms. Raleigh, Mrs. L?
Not for the people.
Ms. Raleigh, anything else on any one of those files?
Nothing further.
All right, Ms. Pierce, we'll see you on that March 4th date at 8 o'clock. It'll be live in person on the 6th floor of City Hall of Lansing. All right, ma'am?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You're all set. Thank you for your appearance today. Who is next, Ms. Azal? Or do we need to bring anybody up?
I believe if we could bring up Alexia Lanas, but we would be able to go on another case in the meantime.
Okay. So Megan can go get Alexia Alanes.
Maybe we don't need to bring, I think we're going to be requesting a brief adjournment on that one.
That's correct.
All right, so
wait for appearance for that.
as long as you're going to talk to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could we bring someone else up? Then?
Sure.
Could we bring up
Christasia Castilla? We brought her up yesterday.
Yeah.
So we'll bring up Miss Castilla. That's also a PD case. All right, we'll bring her up. And what case did you want to, well, let's go on Miss Alanis. Alexia Alanis. Right, so we're on the record in docket 24-03-004. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Alexia Alanis. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Mrs. Zell.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the people.
Mr. Raleigh.
Jacob Raleigh on behalf of Miss Alanis.
This is the time set for a final pretrial in the matter. Miss Alanis is been brought over. She's in custody. It's my understanding we're going to waive her appearance. Is that a fair statement, Mrs. Zell?
It is, Your Honor.
Mr. Raleigh.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and then how are we proceeding on the final pretrial? It's my understanding it's going to be an adjournment.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Alanis does have a few other cases pending against her right now. We are hoping to adjourn this just briefly to get a global resolution in the works.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Yeah, and I have an indication previously that that's been working on. There's a global resolution in other cases. There's other case files going on. So we'll set this. We can set this for final pretrial probably in the next couple of weeks. You know, just to bring it back up. I don't want to set it for go all the way to jury trial on it, since we're resetting the final pretrial. So what do we have for final pretrial?
I have 2 weeks on February 18th, unless you would like.
That's fine. February 18th
At 8:30.
All right, so we set for final pretrial on February 18th at 8:30. And in order, that'll give council some time to look at the other cases that are out there and do a global resolution, or at least make an offer of global resolution. And Mr. Raleigh, you'll convey the same to Ms. Alanis.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Anything else for the record in 24-03-004, Ms. Azal?
Not for the people.
Mr. Raleigh.
No, Your Honor.
All right, we're all set on that file. You want to go to O'Brien? I see Miss O'Brien's out there.
We can, yes.
Yeah. Well, we have. Taken. Right, so we're on the record in docket 24-03-376. That is the city of people of the state of Michigan versus Gerald Dankenbring. Appearances for the record, Mrs. L.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the people.
Miss O'Brien.
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney Ina O'Brien on behalf of the defendant Gerald Dankenbring, who is present and standing to my right.
And sir, you are Gerald Dankenbring, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a city people of the state of Michigan pretrial, final pretrial. Mrs. L, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, the people are going to be asking for an adjournment in this case. It has come to our attention that a necessary witness and the victim in this case was arrested last night, and we are hoping to get some time to review those charges and see how that affects this case.
So the complaining victim was arrested last night.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Miss O'Brien.
That is correct. These were new developments that happened late last night. I did bring it to the prosecutor's attention this morning. And I don't have any problem with the adjournment. Obviously, she's going to have an opportunity to look into it further. However, Your Honor, I would ask that the court adjourn it to March 4th rather than February 18th, as I'm going to be in Hawaii on February 18th.
All right, and
So I don't want to come to court on February 18th, Your Honor. Just
makes
saying.
sense to me. And I think that March 4th date is that's it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks is what we're using.
I have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Oh, don't do the March 4th date works.
March 4th. Okay.
Yeah, so let's reset the final pretrial. Or final pretrial,
March 4th at 8.
March 4th at 8:30, and that'll give Ms. Azell some time to review the case. And make some decisions based on the case. Also, I'm assuming you'd have to check to see if you're in conflict, or if there's a conflict set up for the prosecutor using, because she's gonna want her own attorney. And we don't know if she's applying for the public defender's office or.
I believe, Your Honor, the public defenders are working with her
All
to
right.
fill out an application.
All right, perfect. All right, so reset this for March 4th at 8:30. Anything else for the record in 24-03376, Mrs. Zell?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sorry, not for her, Your Honor, but for myself. I'm sorry. Go
You're
ahead.
okay, not the people, Your Honor.
Your Honor, we also would like to address bond, and I did already speak with the prosecutor about this. Currently, it's our understanding, Mr. Dankenbring's bond prohibits him from being within 1,500 feet of Ms. Kirkbride. However, at the time of this incident, they all lived in the same household. Ms. Kirkbride has now moved to another residence. Mr. Dankenbring has been residing with his son outside of the home while this case has been pending. However, Ms. Kirkbride moved 1,050 feet away from their house. So now, even though she is moving out, he can't return home because it's within that 1,500 feet. So we would ask the court to modify the bond to perhaps eliminate that 1,500 feet and allow once she is officially vacated the premises, that he can return back to the 5831 South MLK, Your Honor.
So it would be, the no contact order would still be in place. We just make it not within 1,500 feet, or is it the 50 feet that's the problem?
Well, apparently her apartment is 1,050 feet from their house.
So 1,000 feet.
So 1,000 feet would be
Right.
safe.
Okay, so I'll modify the bond, the no contact order to read no contact within 1,000 feet of the complaining victim.
And Your Honor, I'm not sure what the bond says, to be honest, but if it prohibits him from going to 5831 South MLK, we would ask the court to modify that to just not be able to go to Ms. Kirkbride's residence.
I don't know what it says either, because I can't tell from the notes if it was a no contact with the residents, or, so I'm just gonna place it a no contact with the complaining victim, 1,000 feet of the complaining victim, and leave the residents out of it.
Perfect. Thank you, Your Honor. I just don't want to set Mr.
Right,
Dankenbring up
right.
that I'm going to be in Hawaii
Right.
and he's going to be in custody and it's not going to be.
Right, and if you have any questions, contact your attorney, or LPD would know. But as long as you're further out than 1,000 feet, I am not putting in any residence. Okay, just be outside of 1,000 feet of it.
Perfect.
Anything else for the record in 24-03376, Ms. O'Brien?
No, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
You should be all set. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Zell, where are we heading? Oh, Mr. Lee, how are you?
I'm good, Your Honor. How are you?
Pretty good. And this, Mrs. Castilla?
Yes, it is.
All right, so we're on the record in dockets 24-00421. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Anastasia Castilla. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Mrs. Zell.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the people.
Mr. Lee.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee on behalf of Anastasia Castilla.
And ma'am, you are Anastasia Castilla, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. This is the time set for a people of the state of Michigan pretrial. Mrs. Zell, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that the defendant in this case will be pleading to count 2 of trespass, and we will be dismissing count 1, disorderly person, as well as a Killebrew agreement to no upfront jail or time served.
So it's a 2-count complaint. Just so I have it. Accordingly. And she'll be pleading guilty to count 2 of trespass. Count 1 is to be dismissed. On successful plea and sentence. And there is a Killebrew of time served. jail time. Is that a fair statement, Mrs. L?
It is, Your Honor.
Do we know how much time she has in, Mr. Lee?
I don't know the precise calculation of that. She's been in for, I would say at least a month, Your Honor.
She has first response on this case, so I don't see where.
She's been held. She was December 16th, she was 100 cash for surety. So that's not a PR bond.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So she would have PR'd on that within 4 days. So 4 days.
Was she PR'd as of 4 days on December 16th?
I show a cash surety still of 100.
100 cash surety,
December 16th.
and she was probably in on other things, I think.
She does
So
have
she
a
she
felony.
never made the 100 cash surety.
That's correct.
All right, and then, but she was never out as of after December 16th.
That is correct.
So that puts her in the. We're in the 30-day range. But this isn't the only file she was on.
She had 49 days on this one.
All right. All right, Ms. Castilla. So she must have been on our other files also.
She has.
I know she had
As well, and we've got the city.
Yeah,
case.
there was a city case too. Okay. All right, Ms. Castilla, that's your understanding. You would be pleading guilty to count 2. Count 1 is to be dismissed upon successful sentencing, and we're going to kill a brew on this as time served. Is that your understanding, Ms. Castilla?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lee, may I inquire of your client of their misdemeanor jury trial rights?
Yes, you may, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Castilla, you have the following jury trial rights, and I'm going to walk you through those. All right, ma'am? You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, have the prosecutor prove beyond reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to question any witnesses that are brought against you. You're represented today by Attorney John Lee, and he would be present to cross-examine any witnesses or contest any charges brought against you by the people of the state of Michigan. You have the right to have the court ordering witnesses and you appear in your defense, remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. Do you understand your jury trial rights in this matter?
Yes.
If your plea is accepted, you'll give up the claim the plea result of any promises other than what we've stated on the record, or threats that it was not your choice to plead guilty. You're also giving up the right to appeal anything from trial. Since you won't be having a trial, you'll be pleading guilty instead. Is it your wish today to plead guilty to trespass on this file?
Yes.
I'm going to have you raise your right hand as best you can. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to bring your attention back to September 19th, 2024 at the offense location of 1215 East Michigan Avenue in the city of Lansing, Ingham County. Were you at 1215 East Michigan Avenue on February 19th, 2024 at Sparrow Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, were you asked to leave Sparrow Hospital at some time and not to come back?
No,
Okay. You were never asked to leave Sparrow
I
Hospital.
was on a cycle that I could leave if I wanted to.
Okay, Mrs. Elves.
Your Honor, that's not how the police report reads.
All right.
I was on a cycle if I could leave if I wanted to.
At some point in time, there's an indication here, and I'll talk that you were not in the psych ward and you were asked to leave by law enforcement, and then you got in a fight with law enforcement.
No,
Your Honor, Ms. Castilla is thinking that we were talking about the wrong date. I'm pulling up the police report right now.
All right, and there's more than one
And
trespass.
this date indicates February 19th, 2024. Is that the same date that you had
Yes.
said? Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
they said September, my bad.
So that's a different date that you're
Yeah.
thinking of? All right.
Yeah, I thought you said September, my bad.
All right, so on this February 19th date, were you asked to leave Sparrow Hospital and you
Yes.
refused? Okay,
Yes.
all right. All right, anything towards the factual basis, Mrs. L,
Not for the people. No.
Mr. Lee?
Nothing further.
I find the factual basis to be knowing, voluntarily, and accurately made. And is there any objection to immediate sentencing on behalf of the people, Mrs. L?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Lee?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I'm gonna sentence the defendant to time served, which depending on whether she PR bonded or not, but I think she's right at, so time served would be at least from December 16th, but we don't know if it was PR bonded or if she was being held on something else. So I would give her credit for time served for 20 days. So she has 20 days on this, credit for time served. I'm gonna waive fines and costs. And I'll waive crime victims' rights fee and the state fee. And then we'll dismiss the disorderly person in count one. So the sentence here is 20 days incarceration with credit for 20 days served. So Ms. Castilla, this will take care of this file. Okay, you're all done on this file. You have another pending felony, I think. And then I think you have a city ordinance case but that'll take care of this file, all right, ma'am? All right, anything else for the record in 24-00421, Mrs. L?
Not for the people.
All right, Mr. Lee, are we all set?
You're all set.
All right, thank you, Ms. Castilla, you're all set. Where did you want to go now, Mrs. L?
I believe we're ready for Marcus Davis.
Mr. Davis? All right, so we're on the record in docket 21-03302. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Marcus Davis. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Mrs. L.
Gabrielle Ezell, Assistant Prosecutor for the people.
Mr. Raleigh.
Jacob Raleigh on behalf of Mr. Davis.
And sir, you are Marcus Wesley Davis, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. This is the time set for a City of People, State of Michigan pretrial, final pretrial. Mrs. L, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, it has come to the people's attention that the necessary witness and victim in this case is no longer available as they have passed in 2022. The people at this time would be seeking to submit a nollie on this case.
All right. So people are unable to proceed. The complaining victim has passed. And then we'll print out, I think, Ms. Slaviak. So you might have to get the nollie pros from that's being printed out. And that would be the nollie pros for you to sign. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Raleigh?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, so Mr. Davis, this is being dismissed without prejudice for the passing of the complaining victim, which means that the people could reissue if they choose to. It's a default, but realistically, the case is dismissed. All right, sir? All right. Thank you, Mrs. L. All right, I will sign the nollie pros or order of dismissal without prejudice. Anything else for the record in docket 21-03302, Mrs. L?
Not for the people.
Mr. Raleigh.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Davis, you should be all set. Thank you for your appearance today.
Thank you. Excuse me, Your Honor.
Mr. Copeland, you're here for your 8:30.
I would just make sure I was in front of the right judge.
You're in the right place, sir. Stand by and we'll call your case in just a second, all right?
All right.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Zell, which case are we calling?
Your Honor, if we could call the Brandon Williams case.
All right, so we're on the record in docket 24033653. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Brandon Williams. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Mrs. Zell.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
Mr. Rowley.
Jacob Riley on behalf of Mr. Williams.
And sir, you are Brandon Williams, is that correct? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. This is the time set for a people of the state of Michigan final pretrial. Mrs. Zell, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, the necessary witness in the people's case has failed to appear today. We did send out a subpoena and have attempted to contact her via phone call, and we have not heard back from the complaining witness since. I do believe that defense will make a motion.
All right, Mr. Rowley.
Defense motion would be to dismiss it this time.
All right, we will have printed off at the request of defense counsel a nollie pros. And Mrs. Zell will add that to your job title of that Mr. Rowley can sign that. I think I just signed that. Yeah. I think I
Yeah,
just-
no.
Thank you, Mrs. Zell. So I'm in possession of the order of acquittal or dismissal on docket 24033653. And Mr. Williams, this is a motion to dismiss from the defense counsel, which is going to be granted without prejudice, which means that people could reissue if they choose to. But for our purposes today, the case is dismissed. All right, sir. All right, I'm going to sign the nollie pros accordingly. Anything else for the record in 24033653, Mrs. Zell?
Not for the people.
Mr. Rowley.
Oh, Your Honor.
You should be all set, Mr. Williams. Thank you for your appearance. So Ms. Birdkick, you can, if you're here on the Brittany Pierce case, those cases have been set for jury trial, all right, ma'am?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You should be all set.
Okay.
24-03150. That's people of the state of Michigan versus Joseph Dukes. Will the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Ezell.
Gabrielle Ezell, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
Mr. Harris.
James Harris, Assistant Public Defender here on behalf of Mr. Dukes in the Union County Public Defender's Office.
And sir, you are Joseph Dukes Jr., is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a people of the state of Michigan final pretrial. Mrs. Ezell, how we proceed?
Your Honor, the defendant has brought in proof of current vaccination and current license for his dog. We have been shown that evidence and we are dismissing or asking to dismiss today based on compliance with the law.
And is that a fair statement, Mr. Harris?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Based on compliance purposes and being able to show that the dog is now in compliance, this is on a ticket. We will move to dismiss without prejudice. Means that people could reach if they choose to. It's generally the default, but for our purposes today, the case is dismissed. All right, sir? All right. Anything else for the record in 24-03150, Ms. Ezell?
Not for the people.
Mr. Harris?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
You're all set, Mr. Dukes. Thank you.
Mr. Indongo here.
Mr. Indongo.
Do have the interpreter, an interpreter here on
All right.
Dongo as well.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And all right, the interpreter, I'm going to have you state your name and spell your first name and the last name for the record.
My first name is Patient, P-A-T-I-E-N-T, last name Baraka, B-A-R-A-K-A.
Okay. Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will truly, accurately, and impartially interpret in the matter now before the court and not divulge confidential communications, so help you God, under the penalty of perjury?
Yes, I do.
All right. All right, so just let me know if I start going a little fast, all right?
Please.
All right. So we're on the record in docket 24-03665. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Eric Dongo.
Nous sommes ici pour écouter les cas qui concernent les dossiers qui concernent l'État de Michigan et M. Eric Danongo. No. Yes.
And appearances for the record of Ms. Ezell.
Gabrielle Ezell, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
C'est lui le prosécuteur pour le peuple.
Assistant Public Defender James Harris here on behalf of Mr. Ndongo in the Union County Public Defender's Office.
Et lui, c'est un avocat qui défend le peuple.
This is the time set for the people of the state of Michigan final pretrial. Ms. Ezell, how are we proceeding?
Et ça, c'est le jour que nous avons décidé pour décider votre accusation. Et je demande à madame de nous dire comment est-ce qu'on va procéder avec ces cas.
Your Honor, the people are unable to sustain the burden of proof in this case, and we will be requesting a nollie.
Son honneur, nous avons été incapables de récupérer tous les éléments dans ce dossier et nous préférons demander à ce qu'on puisse repousser.
And that's your understanding, Mr. Harris.
That is my understanding, Judge. The defense has no objection.
Lui aussi, il dit que c'est sa compréhension de ces cas, donc il n'y a pas d'objection pour ce cas.
All right, so I will have printed off a nollie pros at the people's request.
Le juge va demander à ce qu'on puisse imprimer le document qui montre que c'est le cas, c'est donc qu'elle a suggéré.
On 24-03665.
Pour le numéro qu'il a cité.
I'm in possession of the order of nollie pros on 2403-665.
Je suis en possession des dossiers numéros bien cités
This means today that I'm signing the nollie pros without prejudice.
et je signe ce document qui montre que il n'y a pas une grande faute.
This means that the people could reissue if they choose to, but for our purpose today, the case is dismissed.
Mais c'est bien que le cas a été arrêté, mais les gens peuvent condamnés peuvent toujours venir au tribunal et vous accuser.
Anything else for the record in 2403-665, Mrs. L?
Not
Est-ce
for
qu'il y
the
a quelque
people.
chose à ajouter sur ces cas et ces numéros? Il y en a pas.
Anything else for the record, Mr. Harris?
Not from the defense, Your Honor.
Lui aussi n'a rien à ajouter sur ces cas, ces dossiers.
So, Mr. Dongo, you should be all set today. Thank you for your appearance. today.
Danga, donc, c'est fini pour toi pour aujourd'hui. Merci d'être venu.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you for your assistance today.
À vous.
So Tracy Martinez, I'm going to place you in a room with your public defender, and then we'll call your case. All right, sir?
Okay.
So you should get a prompt to go to room 1, and then I'm going to place your public defender when they join the room. Mr. Raleigh, I'll put you in the same room.
Thank you.
Then what are you ready to go on, Mr. Lee?
I have Jasmine Hisler here that we're ready to go on. And I think Copeland is on Zoom.
Yes. Did you want to meet with Copeland
I'm
before?
actually going to be asking for an adjournment, Your
Okay.
Honor.
All right. We can call that. Let's see. So when Mr. Raleigh joins us, you can put him in room 1. We'll go on Hisler and then Copeland. So we'll start with Hisler. Jasmine Hisler. All right, so we're on the record in docket 1903270. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Jasmine Hisler. Will the parties please introduce themselves to the record? Mrs. L.
Gabrielle Zell, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
Mr. Lee.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee on behalf of Jasmine Hisler.
And ma'am, you are Jasmine Hisler, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you. This is the time set for a state of Michigan pretrial. Mrs. L, how are we proceeding?
Your Honor, the people have extended a plea offer to a amended count 1, I guess, for retail fraud 3rd versus retail fraud 2nd under PAC code 750-356 D4, which is a 93-day with potential $500 fine. The restitution in this case is $22, and we would ask that that be included in the plea. But we would also be agreeing to time served.
And that would be retail fraud in the 3rd degree.
Correct, Your Honor.
And is that your understanding of the plea offer?
That is my understanding.
Do you intend to accept the plea offer on today's date?
Yes, sir.
All right. May I inquire? So I'll reiterate my understanding of the plea offer. It's a plea to retail fraud in the 3rd degree pursuant to 750.356 D4. That's a 93-day misdemeanor and or $500. There's $22 of restitution. And do we know who that's to?
That would be to the store of Meyer, Your Honor.
All right, and then you'll probably have to do a pink sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a Killebrew agreement between the attorneys of time served, which means that if I was going to give you any greater amount than the time served date, and how much date do we have? Do we know how much
I'm
in?
not sure, Your Honor. Ms. Hisler was in the county from 2019 to 2021.
All right.
She was at MDOC from 2021 to 2024. And she recently got picked up on a warrant or turned herself in on the warrant. She turned herself in on the warrant.
What date was that?
Was it this year or last year?
This was last year, so it would have been November or something. last
A
year.
date in November, Your Honor.
Okay. So do we have, it should be later, because I think it was probably PR bonded.
I show that she was arraigned on the warrant on 1/7 this year.
Okay. That was the adjourned for pretrial date. So January 7th was adjourned for
My
pretrial.
apologies. It looks like December 10th. The only way you were seeing for then.
Was set for pretrial on December 10th. I'm just trying to figure out how much time she has in. All right, so it is a Killebrew agreement of no more jail time, and you understand it's a plea to the retail fraud now.
Yes.
All right. All right, may I inquire of your client of their misdemeanor advice of rights, Mr. Lee?
Yes, sir.
You understand you have the following jury trial rights, and I'll indicate that for the record. You have the right to be tried by a jury, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, to have the prosecutor prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty, to have witnesses against you appear at trial, to question any witnesses that are brought against you. You're represented today by Attorney John Lee, and he would be present to cross-examine any witness that contest any charges brought against you by the people of the state of Michigan. Do you understand that, ma'am?
I do.
You have the right to have the court order any witnesses appear in your defense to remain silent during the trial, not to have that silence used against you, and to testify at trial if you choose to testify. If your plea is accepted, you'll give up the claim the plea was a result of any promises other than what's been stated on the record, or threats that it was not your choice to plead guilty. You'd also be giving up your right to appeal anything from trial. Since you won't be having a trial, you'll be pleading guilty to the retail fraud in the third degree. Is it your intent today to plead guilty to the retail fraud in the third degree?
Yes, sir.
And if you raise your right hand as best you can, do you solemnly swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Okay. So I'm going to bring your attention back to March 20th, 2019 at the fence location of 6200 South Pennsylvania Avenue in the city of Lansing, Union County. Were you present at the Myers store on Pennsylvania Avenue in the city of Lansing on March 20th, 2019?
Yes, I was.
And was Meyer open to the general public for sale?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And at that time, did you take something that was from Meyer and you didn't pay for it? And did you that was over $200 but less than $1,000?
Yes, I did.
All right. And at the time you took it, you had no intention of paying for it.
Right, no.
Okay. Anything towards a factual basis, Mrs. L?
Nothing for the people, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lee.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, I find the factual basis to be knowing, voluntarily, and accurately made. Mrs. L, is there any reason do you have any objection to go into immediate sentencing?
Not, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lee, are you requesting immediate sentencing?
Yes, sir.
You may proceed as to allocution.
Thank you, Your Honor. As previously mentioned to the court, Ms. Hisler has spent some time in MDOC and has come out and landed on her feet. She is currently working at Robin's Nest Restaurant in Eaton Rapids and has started to rebuild her life. She intends to abide by all laws and regulations of the city of Lansing and the state of Michigan, and ask the court to honor the Killebrew agreement, and is ready to make good on the restitution.
All right. All right, Ms. Hisler, I don't know what was going on in 2019, but you're a better person now for doing all of this. So I'm going to follow the Killebrew agreement. I'll work 5 days in jail. 5 days previously served would be the time served for the Killebrew. Restitution would be made to Meyer for $22. Go ahead. And do you have a pink sheet?
Yes, Your Honor, and I would like to clarify, it is $21.97,
Okay.
$21.97.
All right. And I'll add that pink sheet to the file. Thank you, Mrs. Dillon. And where are you working in Eaton Rapids?
Robin's Nest, it's a
Okay.
restaurant.
All right. And what are you doing there?
I'm waitress and cook sometimes.
Okay. How's that working out for you?
Good.
All right. I'm going to waive any fines and costs. Going to waive any crime victims' rights fee or state fee. So the only thing you'll have outstanding is the restitution of minor. Okay, ma'am?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? So you can take care of the restitution. I'm going to say restitution can be paid by the end of the month. So that'd be by February 28th. It'd be $21.97. That can be paid at the window. All right. Online, in person, or at the window. But that'll be the only debt concerning this matter. Anything else for the record in 1903270, Mrs. L?
Not for the people.
Mr. Lee?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You should be all set, Ms. Hisler. Thank you for your appearance. And then Mr. Lee, Mr. Copeland's here and we can go. So Mr. Copeland, you can unmute.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, so we're on the record in docket 24-03397. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Calvin Copeland. Will the parties please introduce themselves to the record? Mrs. L.
Gabrielle Ezel, Assistant Prosecutor for the People.
Mr. Lee.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee for Calvin Copeland.
And sir, you are Calvin Copeland, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I'm Calvin Copeland.
And you can hear me all right, Mr. Copeland?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
All right, thank you.
Can you hear me?
This time set for, yes, I can, sir. This is the time set for a final pretrial in the matter. Ms. Ezel, how are we proceeding today?
Your Honor, it's my understanding that the defense is asking for a brief adjournment so that they can become familiar with this case, as the public defender's office was just recently hired by the defendant.
All right. And is that a fair statement, Mr. Lee? In order to zealously represent Mr. Copeland on this matter, you need some time to review the file.
That is true, Your Honor.
All right. All right, so we will grant the adjournment because Mr. Copeland has recently made application to the public defender's office, has been assigned a public defender, and they should look through discovery and be able to review everything in order to represent Mr. Copeland. So we will adjourn the pretrial, and we'll adjourn the final pretrial to
February 18th at 8:30.
February 18th at 8:30. So on February 18th at 8:30, we will reconvene for final pretrial. And Mr. Copeland, you'll be sent notice to, I don't know if we have an address for you. Let's make sure we have an address.
I have a Barterville address.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, is that Barterville address still a good address for you, sir?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my valid address.
All right. You'll get notice sent for that February 18th at 8:30 date. All right, sir?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Anything else for the record in 24-03397, Mrs. L?
Not for the people.
Mr. Lee?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Copeland, we'll see you on February 18th at 8:30. Thank you for your appearance today.
All right, have a good day.
You too. We have Kaufman's.